Hello and welcome to part 9 of Learning Blender the Easy Way. So what we're going to be looking at today is bending an object. So curving an object, bending an object, making an object rounded. So let's say, for example, I've made here a gauntlet. This is going to be for somebody's wrist. You imagine their hand is here and then their arm is up there. And I've got this piece here that what I want to do is I want to curve it around the front so it'll fit onto this particular panel. I mean, obviously there's many ways you could do this. You could split this down and you could just put it on the front or whatever. But let's say, for example, we want to curve this to fit this arm piece. Well, the first thing you have to understand is for anything to bend, it needs places to bend on. So in this case, if we look at the edit mode, you'll see it's just one flat plane. If we were to try and bend this, there's no vertexes or breaks going down that it could bend around. There's nothing to bend it on. So we're going to have to make some. And the first way to do that is, you remember when I said the ring select, the loop select, which is Control and R, and then you make a loop. Well, we're just going to roll the wheel up and make quite a few. Like that. And then select it. Now it has bars to bend. So as it actually can bend. What we're going to do now is add another cube. So we go Shift A and we create a cube. I normally like to take it down really small. And I want to position it behind the object. So somewhere in the middle at the back, somewhere here. This is the object we're going to use to bend around. The reason I select a cube is because when you rotate this cube and manipulate this cube, it will have drastic effects on this here, and you're able to mess around with this cube until you get the desired effect. So it's the easiest way to do it. Let's go back into object mode and let's select this object. At the moment it's got 2 because I didn't, when I went into edit mode, I didn't come out of edit mode before I added the cube. And what it's done is it's added a cube as part of this object. So when I go to object, I've got 2. If that ever happens to you, it's really easy. Just select the object that you don't want to be part of the other object. I normally press Control with the plus button to select all the elements of it, and then press P for parent, and in this case we can do separate, and that will split it off. Now if we go into object mode, we'll have 2. To avoid that, just make sure whenever you're adding a new object you add it in object mode and not in edit mode. Okay, so we select this front piece. We're going to select the modifier simple deform, which is here. So it's in deform, simple deform. You'll notice it does something crazy. Don't worry about it. We're not interested at the moment. We haven't told it any details. We want to first select an origin point, which is going to be the cube that we made. So we just click the drop it tool at the end, and we select the plane. We now want to select what type of bend we want. In this case we want a bend, so we're going to select bend. We now can have a look at clicking the axis, see if that makes any difference. At the moment it hasn't, and we can then look at the strength of the bend by scrolling it up. Now what we want to do is we want to use this cube now to mess around with and rotate it by using the R key to see where the bend is happening. You can see it's going on the origin, so it's going on the origin which is at that point. So let's rotate it until we can find that desired effect that we're after. So I'm using the X constraint, and we can see that it's bending, but it's bending in some weird and funky ways. Now we can use the Z. Now once we'd use the Z, we can see we're getting that desired bend that we want, which is somewhere like that. And obviously we can mess around again with the Y and we can see the bend affecting, but the one we wanted there was the Z. Once we're happy with the bend, in this case I'm quite happy with that bend there, we can then select this, go into our object mode and press apply. As long as we're in object mode up here, we're able to apply it, and then we can just delete that cube. Now we have the shape that we want, just by rotating it a little bit across the y-axis. I can then taper it over and just move it towards my object and mess about with a little bit more on the rotation to get the desired effect. Obviously you can still use things like scale, like this, and you can still scale it the other way to get the bend to exactly where you want it to be. And then in this case, if I wanted to be a bit thicker, I could go into edit mode, into the modifiers, and I could go into generate, solidify, and I could take up the thickness of the object like that and then apply it, and now we have a gauntlet sort of built into the front there. And I can have any effect or any texture on this. I can even select it all, go into faces and select smooth just to give it a nice smooth look. And it could be fantastic for something like the front of a boot, or if you're just bending a logo, or if you're bending an object of any kind. That's the best way to do it, is to just use a cube behind, get the desired bend that you're after, and then lock it in. Hopefully that helps. I would like to see you bend some objects. Let's see how you get on.